cord to this
You
computer.
want my volume up or off?
I'll turn mine off and then you can put
So I
your,
can go close.
Yeah,
caption.
we'll turn off the mics once we start.
I just want to make sure that my
Officially.
volume is good on you guys' end.
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay.
A couple times you've broken up a little bit on my end, so, but I think it's just a quirky whatever. So right now you're doing good. So
Okay.
now I have to be able to make
Terry.
Terry the co-host when she logs on.
Yeah.
And I don't see that one here right now. I guess I have to.
Not
oh, it's
in
gonna
yet.
be over here.
you're not in?
Carolyn?
Meeting host will let you in soon.
Oh, 3 people in the waiting room. Hang on, we gotta get them in.
You asked me something?
Oh, no, I just said, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Diana expected to be here, but I don't think she's gonna make it.
Oh, darn, that's too
Yeah,
bad.
if I
was
see
gonna-
you.
There's Terry.
There's Terry. I'm gonna get her to be a
You want to turn
co-host
my
in
volume
case
up?
something happens to me.
Yeah.
And yes, I want to make Terry a co-host. Hi, Terry.
Hey, Kim, how are you?
I'm
Hi
good.
there.
I'm here with Kitty.
Yeah. long
Hi,
time
Miss
no
Kitty.
see.
Yeah, I know. Long time no see. I saw Kitty.
Yeah, I'll have to get the scoop on the Tuesday's meeting. So let's see, I have 25 after, so we have a few more minutes
Mhm.
to, is that the neighbor dog or something?
Yeah. Did I give you the list of programs that the other genealogy chapters are having?
I think not, I don't think I got anything recently from you, but if you have
Okay,
something,
because
I'll
we
take
had a
it.
meeting February 3rd. Let me go get them.
Okay, sure. Because then we need to start thinking about next year and what we want to do. So if anyone has any suggestions for programs, I don't know when we're going to start meeting in person yet. Probably, maybe hopefully by the fall, but I really don't know. But we can do pretty much anything on Zoom. So if you, hi Ruth, if you have any suggestions for next year, let me know. Of course, I had this year
Hi,
all planned
Kim.
out. Go ahead.
Hi, Kim.
How are you?
Hi, Terry.
Hey, Ruth, how are you? Long time no see. As
I know.
Kitty
Kitty's here
said.
too. She just stepped away
I
from
know
there.
it.
Bill,
Okay.
is Susan there with you or are you solo tonight? Oh, there she is. I see her hand. Okay. Hi, Susan. So yeah, I've got through May
You
planned.
can talk to her.
I had the whole year planned out before we had the pandemic, and then
Mhm.
everything kind of fell apart temporarily. But if you have a
Hi, Bill.
suggestion for the fall, let me know.
Yeah, we got our first COVID shots today.
Did you really? Yeah,
Yay!
that's good. I had a 92-year-old man in the library yesterday, and he actually had his own laptop with him. And he needed some help, but he was trying to sign up for a shot, but they're not doing it right now because of the delay in getting the vaccines here because of weather.
Yeah, I wore my tuxedo.
I see there was a message here for Barbara. What happened? I saw a message now. Barbara, I saw a message pop up from you and now I don't know where it went. Maybe email me.
Look at your chat.
Well, I did, but I don't.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. I see it. I mean, I was seeing names, but not. Barbara wants to share some free webinars the Genealogical Society of Broward County, Florida is offering. So yeah, do you want to put that in chat?
I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Okay, sure. And then everybody can see it. And if you can maybe email it to me later, I can email it
Kim
to
can
people.
forward it on. Yeah.
Can you put it on Facebook too?
Put it on, you can
Well,
put it on our Facebook group, or I can
Yes,
put it on the
but I'll need
Facebook
your
group.
email address.
Just use,
I'll need your email address.
yeah, Kim Dolce, D-O-L-C-E. I'll type it in.
Okay, terrific.
Might be
Thank
easier.
you.
I'll give you my home email because
Barbara, I'm going to give you mine so I can share it with Roots and Branches.
Great.
Ruth is here.
No,
Did you
that's
see
all
Ruth?
right. I just wanted to
Oh,
see
yeah.
who else was on.
Ruth Patrignani.
Yeah.
Here. Hi, Kitty.
Land crew here. Pat, I'm not sure what happened. I thought I had your email address as well as Walter's, and I guess I don't know, it dropped. But I'm glad we got you on. I just happened to be coming back from lunch when I saw your message about not getting the invitation, so I got that out quickly before they realized I was on Facebook.
Thank you.
So Nancy's here. We've got New Smyrna people. We've got some DeLand people and Daytona people. So that's good. Let's see, what time is it? I have 6:28. We'll wait like 2 more minutes.
A couple minutes.
Pauline, how are you feeling these days? Are you doing good?
Yeah, I am. Yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Good, good. So I was just really impressed that this 92-year-old man came in with his own laptop, when sometimes we have 40-year-olds that don't really know how to use the internet very much. And this man, I thought he wanted to use our computers, and he showed me his laptop. He said, well, I'd rather use this one. I said, hey, that's great if you can. So, but we weren't able to get him signed up for a shop because the Publix is suspended temporarily because of bad weather in other places, that whatever they had coming was delayed or something.
Right.
So
Yeah, they didn't get it.
they didn't get it in time.
Well, I
So,
don't take my iPad when I go up to New Jersey because anybody I go to see doesn't either have a computer or they don't know their password.
oh
to
yeah,
get
right.
on if
That's
they
another
do.
problem, that they don't know their password sometimes. People come into the library and
Kim, I
have to
think
log on to our
you
computer. so
spelled
they
your
have it
email
memorized.
wrong on the,
I mean, they don't have it memorized. It's saved on their computer, but they want us to try to
She
help them.
did.
Hi, Bernice, how are you?
Hi. Hi, this is Loretta. When you were talking about the shots,
Right,
they're just, when you were talking about the COVID shots,
right.
they're just doing them through, I think it's My Florida. It's a pre-registration website for everything.
Right, but they were not, there was a public site where he wanted, you can sign up for this
Right,
public
but
thing too, but
he's better off going to the other one because they'll call him when there's shots available.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's good
Be
to
a
it's
know.
lot less
my-
stressful.
It's
Well, it's different thing.
myvaccine.fl.gov.
Okay,
It's where
I-
you can register because we registered a friend.
okay, if somebody else comes in, hey, and maybe Terry, maybe send me that link or that email, the address, because I won't remember it by the time.
All right, I'll double check it, but
My
yeah.
brain.
You've
will
got
be-
too much going on.
I've got too much going on, too many balls in the air. So I have 6:31. So let's go ahead and start. And then if we can chat at the end, if we need to. Oh, wait a minute, there's one other person waiting to come in here. Hang on 1 second. Not sure who it is, but phone number, but okay. Okay, so who did I just let in?
Let me ask about what you have in the chat. I was
Okay.
trying to copy and paste it into a Word document.
Okay.
I couldn't do that. Is there a different way we can do that information?
I was able to copy it.
You did? Well, I can send it to anybody via email.
Okay,
I could probably copy it, but if you send it to me via email, I can go ahead and send it to everybody else that's on my email list. And if you're not on my list, well, you probably wouldn't have been here, but you can always contact me. I put my email address up here and I can make sure everybody gets it. So, okay, so our guest tonight is Miles Meyer, and he was with us a few years ago in person when we could do that, talking about family search. Kitty, you were there, I remember.
Yes.
So yes, so Miles is a scientist by training and has been active in genealogy for over 25 years and in a variety of ways. His expertise revolves around new technologies, internet research, and family search. He is a family history consultant and the director of the Vero Beach Family History Center. I might want to chat with you about that later, Miles. He is so yes, he's also presented at a variety of genealogy conferences, including Roots Tech at Salt Lake City in 2019 and in London in 2019. And Roots Tech Connect, which is this year, online and free. It's next weekend. So if you haven't signed up and you want to go, now's your big chance. It's as cheap as it's ever going to be. Additionally, Miles has been a beta tester for several genealogy companies, including Ancestral Quest, Family Search, MyHeritage, Billion Graves, and the BYU Tech Labs, to name just a few. He's also a certified trainer and the director of education for the Family History Guide. Miles has produced several training manuals and maintains several websites and blogs on genealogy-related activities. I don't know how you keep up with it all, Miles, but we're glad to have you with us. And if everyone can put your microphone on mute, if you're not already, then we can go ahead and start. And I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Before I get started with the presentation, just want to mention that as Kim said, Roots Tech is coming up next week. The program starts Wednesday night at 11 p.m. and runs until 11 p.m. on Saturday. It's 24 hours a day. There are over 1,500 sessions during that conference. They will all be available on demand for a year after the conference. So don't worry about trying to fit 1,500 sessions into 3 days. You can see those on demand later. But we've got a lot of other programs going on with Roots Tech. I was just on a meeting just a couple hours ago, and I got another one tomorrow. And I've got another one after that. So we've got a lot of stuff going on for Roots Tech. So if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to ask me after the presentation today. I am going to share my screen here and pull up the presentation. So let's see if it'll pop up as a presentation here. Okay, can you all see the presentation? Okay, great. So yeah, today we'll be talking about disaster proofing your genealogy. And this is something that's pretty relevant in Florida. We have, a few natural disasters here in Florida that we might need to be aware of, as well as, some disasters that might just happen to you in your home. So when we talk about natural disasters, these are the adverse events resulting from natural forces of the earth, which result in great damage or loss of life. And so some of these are predictable. We know in advance that a hurricane is probably going to come somewhere near us. We watch it for days, as it's forming and moving closer to us. But with the way that the climate is changing now, we are having to look at these a little differently. They intensify much more rapidly, and they start to intensify later. So, you may see a category 1 coming in and you're like, oh, that's nothing. And then when it's 100 miles offshore, all of a sudden it blooms up to a category 3 or 4, or category 5 even, which we've seen recently. And other things such as earthquakes are not predictable. You don't know when an earthquake's going to happen. We don't have to worry about those much in Florida. We do occasionally have very small earthquakes, but it's not a big problem in Florida. So, we look at hurricanes, and, these are very large events. You don't have to be right around the eye in order to get damage. You could be well off the eye and still get rain damage. Your roof might be removed. You might have some flooding in your neighborhood, and all of that can cause damage to your own personal archives. Earthquakes. This is Marabahoca Church in the Philippines. On the left is before the earthquake, on the right is after the earthquake. Luckily, in this case, Family Search had gone in and digitized the records prior to the earthquake happening. And so they were able to replace the records that were lost during the earthquake by giving this church back the digital archives for those records that they had destroyed. Wildfires. We see some wildfires in Florida. Most of the time, they're fairly well contained and not necessarily near urban development. But you've seen in California and other states out west recently where these wildfires can get out of hand very quickly and destroy entire neighborhoods. And people don't have a whole lot of warning before that happens. The wind changes direction, it blows embers towards your house, and everything in the area starts on fire. So how do you keep your family history records and other records safe if this is happening? And then we have floods, and floods, something that happens a little more commonly here in Florida. Many neighborhoods were built in what were previously wetlands, low-lying areas, and so they tend to flood a little more quickly. And one thing we don't have to worry about are basements in Florida, because if you had a basement, it would mostly be an indoor swimming pool. So, but you do have to worry about, floods. How deep will your house flood? You see hurricanes where the water levels in the house may be 3 to 5 feet deep. And what does that mean about where you're storing your records? So this map just gives you an idea of where the highest risks are. If you look over around Texas, they have the highest risk of natural disasters. They have things from hurricanes, tornadoes, hail, wind, drought, and floods. About the only thing they don't have are earthquakes. You look over on the West Coast, and they tend to be a little less prone to disasters. They will have earthquakes. There is some extreme weather, but not as frequently. They don't have tornadoes and hurricanes. You may have some natural fires, but they're a little bit less common in the Pacific Northwest than they are in California. And you look in Florida, and we've got a mixed bag here in Florida, but there are some areas that are very more susceptible to disasters than other parts. Down at the bottom, you can see where the tornado risk is. Everybody's heard about Tornado Alley. In Florida, we get tornadoes, but they're F1s, if anything. And so they might give you some damage with shingles, but they won't rip your roof off, most likely. Then you see hurricane risk. And, if you lived in New Orleans last year, you would know what hurricane risk is. They got hit 4 times. But in Florida, on the east coast of Florida and up the southeast coast, the Atlantic coast there, they get hit pretty often with hurricanes. And then you see earthquakes. Typically we think about California, the western states, but look right in the middle of the country. That's the New Madrid Fault right there. And where I grew up in Ohio, you see a very small little circle there. Back in the early 1900s, an entire town disappeared through liquefaction. They had the New Madrid Fault had an earthquake that affected that location in Ohio, and all the buildings sunk to the ground level. And then you see a small earthquake hazard in South Carolina. We also have to look at man-made disasters. And those are those things that are caused directly or indirectly by human actions or inactions. These are mostly unexpected, but we know that they have predictable consequences. For example, if your house has a water leak, you're going to have water damage, but you can't predict when a water leak is going to happen. And just as an example, between June and December, in my house, we had 3 water leaks, 1 in the kitchen and 2 in the bathrooms. And the kitchen one, they fixed it, and 6 hours later, they were back fixing another leak in that same pipe. So, you don't know when these things are going to happen. One benefit is if you're having a leak, you can run outside and turn off the water valve and not flood your house, but it might happen when you're on vacation and you don't know about it. If you have a 2-story building and the leak is on the top floor, it'll damage your floors as well as your ceilings in your house. And if you have any paper records or, other archival records such as photographs, and those get wet, they get damaged very quickly. And so, you need to know how to handle those sort of records if this event happens. And, after you have a water leak or a flood, a hurricane, or something of that sort, where you have water damage inside a house, Florida is very susceptible to mold. And, you have the black mold issue where it's damaging to your health to breathe that black mold. But also any wet paper is going to attract mold into it. So you can see these pictures of, book books, inside of books, the outside of books, the covers of the books will get that mold on them, and it will continue to grow through those pages. And then there's always fire. You know, some fire hazards are preventable. You know, things such as don't leave your phones plugged in 24 hours a day, you know, your cell phones. Unplug your chargers when you're not around them. Make sure you're not overusing an individual plug. You know, you don't want to plug in 4 or 5 different items into one plug in the house. Most of us probably, you know, use APC or surge protectors on our computers. And so, you know, we're aware that you don't want to put that much stress on your electrical system. But then there's other things such as kitchen fires that could happen also. So, you know, be aware that what you need to do in order to conserve your items if you have a fire. And this is one that a lot of us probably had and wish we didn't. Computer failure. You know, your hard drive may crash. Something else may happen in your computer. Your motherboard may burn out. And what happens to that data that you have stored on your computer? You know, a lot of times you're like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll back it up later. And the next time you start the computer, you end up with a blue screen, and that's as far as you get. So we'll talk about all of these different items as we go through this talk. And, you know, what condition are your records? So these are pictures from actual archives. The one is from Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the other one is from Congo. So these are the national archives or the state archives within those countries. And you can see that, you know, these records are definitely not stored in archival boxes. They're left open to the elements, you know, whether that's light, temperature, humidity, water, dust from the air. So, you know, I know that part of my records are laying on a bed in my room, you know, in my office. They're all spread out there. I know where they are, you know, but things get piled on top of them, and you know, they're not well protected. You know, maybe you keep your archives like this. Maybe all of your records are in binders. They're all in 3-ring binders inside of archival sheet protectors, or you've got them in archival boxes sitting on your shelves, and you're able to, you know, maintain everything, and you've got them all indexed, and you know exactly what's in each document folder or in each box. You know, you're never going to lose that picture of your second great grandfather that you collected. It's a tin type. You know exactly where that is, and you've got it all protected. Well, you know, that's the first thing that we should be doing with our archives, is storing them in archival containers. You know, make sure that the way they're stored is protecting them, whether that's in archival sheet protectors, you know, for your pictures or your documents, or inside of archival boxes. That keeping them in those will prevent them from being destroyed over time. What I tend to do with all of mine is I digitize them all, and I keep them in multiple locations. So, you know, you can do a flatbed scanner. You can use a book scanner and scan pages at a time, or you can use a photo scanner, you know, and scan your film, your slides, your negatives, your photographs. All of that is really great. Now it's even easier because many of our cell phones have a scan function on them. It's your camera. And when you put it over top of a document, it'll ask you, do you want to scan this document? And that allows you to scan it. And if it's a document, it allows it to be OCR'd, so you can search it later. It's not just a static image of that material. And then once you've digitized it, you need to know where you're storing it. You know, what are the methods of storing it? Are you leaving it on your hard drive and that's the only place that it is, so that if you do have a hard drive failure or your computer crashes, you've lost that document? Or do you keep it in backup storage? You know, do you use a thumb drive or a, you know, jump drive to store your information? And those are really great. They're very portable. They're small. You can have a whole bunch of them. They're very cheap storage devices. But, you know, what happens if your next computer doesn't have a USB port in it? What if your next computer is a USB-C? These won't be usable. You know, how many of us stored our documents on writable CD-ROMs or DVDs? over the past couple decades. And when you stored them there, you're like, oh, these are great because, they have a lifespan of 100+ years. I'll never have to worry about them again. And now you buy a new computer, and many new computers don't have CD drives or DVD drives. How are you going to read that? They're as useless to many of us as a 3.5-inch floppy. You can also use an external hard drive. And these are really great. They store a lot of information. You can get an external hard drive with 2 terabytes of storage. You store a lot of documents on that. But also external hard drives could crash. So if you're looking at external hard drives, you want to use an SSD drive. That's your solid state drive, as opposed to a external hard drive with a platter disk or a standard hard drive in it. So think about that when you're looking at them. They're a little more expensive, but they have a longer lifespan and they're less susceptible to failure. Or you can do cloud storage. There's a variety of different ways you can do cloud storage. It's automatic in many cases. You can set any folder on your computer to automatically sync with the cloud. So anytime you're copying new documents to your computer, those are automatically synced to the cloud. So let's take a closer look at the cloud storage and see how that's going to help you disaster-proof your records. First of all, your cloud storage account is accessible from any computer. You can access it from your tablet, from your phone, from your computer at home, your computer at work, your computer at the library. You can access your information anywhere. You can also share it with many of your friends. So your friends and family, you invite them, you give them the link to the documents, and they can access those documents. You can have them edit documents. They can transcribe documents if you want them to, and provide that information so you can search for it later. And most of these will provide you a limited amount of free storage capacity. So if you look at OneDrive and iCloud, it's somewhere around 5 gigs. You look at Google Drive, they start at about 15 gigs, and Dropbox is about 2 gigs. That's your free storage. That's, you get that for free. So let's say you're storing it on OneDrive and you use up your 5 gigs. Well, let's just open up a Google account and I can save 15 more gigs there. So, you don't have to save them all in the same place. If you don't want to, you can stack them up. And I've probably have 6 or 7 different cloud storage sites that I have stored information on over the past. Now, some of those sites are no longer operating. They've gone defunct, so you have to be careful of that. Don't place all of your eggs in one basket. So the fact is Google's probably going to be there for a while. Microsoft's probably going to be there for a while. So storing things on them is probably more secure than storing them in other companies. But you can always buy extended storage for these. I have 100 gigabytes on Google Drive and it costs me less than $20 a year. So it isn't very expensive for that storage. Or if you really want to spend your money and make sure your stuff is safe, you can use archival digital storage such as Mozy, Backblaze, or Carbonite. These are encrypted sites. You have to be able to log into them from a specific location. They require a 2-factor authentication to get into them. People cannot just access them and pull a document from them because they are encrypted. You have to have that access key in order to view them. And most of these sites guarantee lifetime storage of those documents. Now, if you have physical documents that you want to store at home, the first thing you can look at is a fireproof safe or a firebox. Many of us have these. You store your personal records, marriage records, birth records, whatever it might be for yourself, your wills, but they tend to be fairly small and don't hold a lot of information, a lot of documentation. You're not going to put an entire banker's box of records into one of these fireproof boxes. So, and they're expensive. So, you want to limit what's in these to something, to the major things that you want to keep safe from fire. But these are options, and you can buy larger ones if you have a lot of information that you want to store inside of those. I mentioned a little bit earlier about jump drives and your digital storage. you know, everybody was like, oh yeah, make CDs and give everybody in the family a copy of the CD. That way, if it ever gets lost, you know, somebody will have it. You can do the same thing with flash drives. You know, you can buy them by a 5-pack, and they're maybe $15 or $20 for a 5-pack in many cases. You copy over all of your information onto each of those drives, you label them, and you give them to your family members, or you put one in your safe deposit box or one in your firebox or wherever you think is safe to keep those. The great thing about that is the chance of losing the information is decreased because you've got it in multiple locations. The problem though is keeping all of those locations up to date. You know, what are you going to do? You're going to buy 2 sets of these jump drives and, you know, give one set out to all the family. And then 6 months later, you'll make an update with all of your new documentation. And then, you know, ask them to give you back the old one and you'll give them the new one, and you just keep trading them like that. That's a possibility. But, you know, you're bound to have part of the people having an older version than other people. And, you know, there's the tendency you might lose things because you're not able to find the most recent backups. So you want to plan ahead. You know, when we have hurricanes come through, they always tell you, make sure you've got your 72-hour kit. What are the things that you need, you know, for a natural disaster? You need your food, your water, your, fire starters, whatever it might be, that is your 72-hour kit for natural disasters. You need to do the same thing for your genealogy information. You need to be able to access that important stuff very quickly, pack it up, and get ready to go. So, you know, it's not like I've got part of it in this office, in this file cabinet over here, and I've got some in the bedroom, and I've got some over here in the living room that I've been working on lately, and there's some over in that closet. You know, by the time you've gone through and tried to find all that, you're bound to miss things. So you want to make sure your stuff is all in one location, easily accessible, and you're able to move it, put it into a transport, you know, case, and get it out of there as quickly as possible. So you want to include your digital backups, your photos, your irreplaceable heirlooms, your passwords. You know, what happens if you lose your password to Ancestry? Well, now I got to get back into that. And, you know, it's a little bit of a hassle. And you also want to look where you're storing your information in your house. You want to consider the climate, you know, humidity, heat, light, all of that can damage your records. You know, for the best storage, you want humidity between 30 and 50%, and you want the temperature between 35 and 65 degrees. Well, that's probably not going to happen here in Florida. You know, your house is going to be in the upper 70s, maybe low 80s. You know, it gets hot during the summer. Your humidity might be up in the house. You can run a dehumidifier to reduce that. But, you know, it's not always practical to keep those archival conditions within your house. So you want to make sure that temperatures and humidity don't fluctuate widely. You want to try to maintain a fairly stable environment within your home where you store that information. You know, you don't want to put your pictures in an area where they are exposed to direct light. So don't store them in front of windows or under lights, because they will fade over time. And, you know, that's one of those things. You've got this great picture, you put it in a picture frame, you put it on the wall, and you don't realize that, you know, the main window for your bay window for your front room is exposed right to that photograph. And you go back and look at it a couple of years later, and the photograph's almost gone. You know, you can probably digitize some of that, you know, you scan it and then work on fixing the color on some of it, but it's never going to be the way that it was originally. You want to avoid storing your records in attics, basements, and garages. You know that the temperature and the climate in your attic and your garage are not stable. They widely fluctuate depending on the environment outside. So, you know, your temperature in your attic might be 100 degrees during the summer, and storing your equipment, your items in that heat is going to cause them to degrade. You know that your garage is pretty well open to the environment. You know, you've got the garage door holding back the rain and stuff, but that doesn't stop moisture from going into your garage. It doesn't stop mice and, you know, palmetto bugs and whatever else might be crawling around outside from also getting in there. And, you know, if you get a mouse that comes into your garage, it's going to go right into your boxes and it's going to make a nest there. And it probably will eat some of your, important heirlooms and important documents. You want to keep your storage boxes on raised shelves off the ground. So, don't put your boxes directly on the ground surface. Partly because if you have water damage in your house, that's the first thing that's going to get damaged. Those boxes are going to absorb that water and it's going to go right into the documents that are there, especially if you're using cardboard boxes. And you want to avoid using plastic containers for storage. Plastic containers might seem good if you're protecting against water damage. But what happens if you have a fire? Those plastic containers will melt and they will coat your documents. And you're going to have a very difficult time trying to get that plastic off of those documents or other heirlooms. And you may not even be able to do that. So, try not to store them in plastic containers. If you look at archival cardboard boxes, you're thinking, well, that cardboard burns. Well, actually, many of these boxes can protect your items from fire, especially if you pack them very tightly. If you've ever tried to burn a book, you know that the book doesn't burn very well. You actually have to open up the pages and try to burn the individual pages. But the inside of the book itself, if you put that in a fire, it's going to get charred, but many of the pages on the inside of that book are still going to be in good condition. The same thing happens if you're working in, with an archival box. If you've got all your items stored in there, it's packed nice and tightly, the likelihood of that burning is minimized. And if you want to protect those archival boxes from floods, you can raise them up off the ground, or, after you've got them up off the ground, you can cover them in plastic. You can put a tarp over them or plastic bags over them or something of that sort that will stop the water from interacting with the cardboard boxes. You want to avoid heating and air conditioning vents. You don't want to put your photographs directly under your heater or next to your heater. That's going to cause temperature changes. It can cause warping of the photographs and other documents. So you want to make sure that you're, keeping them away from the direct air coming off your heater or air conditioning units. And you don't want to store them next to your plumbing or electrical wiring. Like I said, since June, we've had 4 pipe bursts, 2 bathrooms and a kitchen. You don't really expect that to happen, but if I had my documents in my son's closet in a cardboard box, the water coming from the bathroom went right through the wall in my son's closet. And so anything on the floor there would have been water damaged. And you want to keep your items away from fireplaces and doors. Both of those areas are areas where temperature fluctuation occurs, but you can understand what happens next to a fireplace. There's a chance that, the fire, it can get out of control. It can get very hot. It can, heat up the wall around it. That can impact your, the viability of your documents. Placing them next to doors, you might get water flow through the doors if you have flood outside. So, try to keep them away from those areas. And you want to back up all of your research. So, if you have a paper copy of something, a photograph, a document, a will, whatever it might be, you want to digitize those documents. You want to store them off-site, cloud storage, jump drive, hard drive, external hard drive. You want to make sure other people have access to those in your family so that, not only can you share them with them so they get to see those documents, but also they have access to it in case you don't have access to it in the future. You may pass away. And if after you pass away, your cloud storage is still there. Well, who has access to those documents if you haven't shared those with somebody else? You want to sync your research with your online genealogy programs. So, upload these documents to Ancestry and Family Search, link them up to the people that they, are connected with, so that if you ever have a disaster and lose those documents, they are there. They are connected up and accessible. I'll give you an example. We had a tintype photograph that came out of my wife's grandmother's estate, and a great little tintype of a little boy in a sailor's outfit, sort of thing, had the hat and the collar and everything, and really great. We didn't know who the picture was. We didn't know who the individual was in the photograph. Well, we went back to that box a little later, and this had been stored in a box in her, in her attic, next to the airflow, everything of that sort. And you're like, wow, I'm really glad this thing survived. We put it back, we put it into a box, we brought it home. A couple of months later, we opened that box up and looked at it, and that tin type had flaked away, and there was nothing left of that photograph. Luckily, before we put it, put it back in the box, we had digitized it, we had copied it. So we still have that photograph in a digital format, even though the original photograph is gone now. So upload those, upload those photos and documents, share them, make sure people have access to those accounts so that those records don't disappear after you pass away. Now, what happens if you do have documents that are water damaged? Okay, so you had a flood, the hurricane came through, you had 3 feet of water in your house, all of your boxes got wet, you didn't have them stacked high enough on the shelves. So what do you do now? Well, you want to start with the paper items. Okay, those are the things that are going to degrade the most quickly. And any paper item that you cannot get to within the first 24 or 48 hours, you want to freeze it. Just put it in your freezer. Okay, that will keep it from degrading. Cloth items, you can do that next. You got your wedding dress from your grandmother, or you got baptismal gowns from your grandmother or something like that. Those need to be cleaned, yes, but they can wait. You don't have to get to this immediately. The paper stuff is first, and then wood or other items. Okay, so those things, you can get to those later. They're not a big rush for those. You want to wear gloves and a filter mask if necessary, because the mold can set in fairly quickly. If you start to see evidence of mold in your collection, wear gloves, wear a mask. Don't put yourself at risk. So you want to start air drying your documents within 24 to 48 hours. The way to do that is you lay out towels. You place the documents on the towels so that the moisture from the documents can be absorbed by the towels. And then you separate, or you blot the towel, the documents with a towel, paper towel, cloth towel, whatever it might be, and get the excess moisture off of those. If you have stacks of paper that are stuck together, don't try to pull those apart, okay? Because if you start pulling those apart, you're going to start pulling off layers of the paper. The ink or the writing might come off. Photographs, the emulsion will come off. So don't pull stacks of paper apart that are stuck together. So you've blotted off the excess water. Now you want to sandwich the paper between towels. So you lay another layer of towels on top of that paper, and you apply lightweight. This isn't, you don't put on your cinder blocks on top of your paper. Maybe throw on a bag of rice, or something that's lighter in weight, just maybe a couple pounds, but put some pressure on it so that it starts to absorb that water. And if you have glossy paper or parchment paper, you want to freeze that so that it won't degrade. Okay, and freezing the paper will stop it from getting mold. It'll also dry the paper as you freeze it, and it'll make it easier for you to handle afterwards. Same thing with books. You want to air dry the books within the first 24 to 48 hours. So what you want to do is place paper towels between the pages of the books so that the paper towels can wick the paper off of the book. So you want to leave the paper towels hanging out from the book pages, okay? That way any water coming out will then flow down the paper. It'll wick out the paper and out of the book. You want to blot the excess water off of the surfaces of the book, and then check frequently, because books have a tendency to mold. So make sure nothing starts growing in your books, okay? You want to leave them lying flat. Don't stand them up on edge. Don't hang them upside down. You want to lay them out flat. And then books with glossy pages or parchment should be frozen, not air dried. So, if you have glossy pages or parchment pages within the book, put it in the freezer, let it freeze dry first, and then pull it out and work with it afterwards. For your film and your photographs, you want to prioritize drying the prints before the film. So your photographs are the first thing you look at. The negatives and the slides, don't worry about those first, okay? They will store fairly well, but you want to look at your prints. First of all, you want to take them out of any frames. If you have them stuck to a inside of a frame and they have a glass cover to them, that glass is going to stick to those photographs. And when you peel them off of that glass, it's going to leave the photograph emulsion on the glass. Okay, so try to remove them from the frames. Leave them on the glass if you have to. Don't try to pull them off if they're stuck there. Okay, you can get to that later. You want to place the prints and film in clean, cold water. So you can, if it's stuck to the glass, or you have a pile of them, they're maybe stuck together a little bit, whatever it is, place them in a bucket of clean, cold water. They won't degrade while they're there, because don't worry about that. But that way you can store them there, and when you're ready to get to them, you can pull them out. And they should come off the glass then, and they should separate from each other, okay? And then you want to keep the prints laying emulsion side up. Don't put the photograph down, okay? You don't want to touch the emulsion, because if you do, you're going to leave fingerprints on it. So you grab it by the edges, you place the photograph emulsion side up, and then you're going to let it dry, air dry. You can hang the film from drying lines, just like you see on television, after they're in the dark room, they hang the film up on a drying line. Just do not have the clip touching the emulsion. You can have it touching the outside of the film, okay, or the outside of the photograph. So the film, photographs, slides, those sort of things, you can hang them on a drying line and see if that works. If they're things are stuck together, again, try freezing it. And that again will dry it, and it will make it easier to separate. And if you have a picture that is curled, do not try to uncurl it, okay? Because if you try to uncurl it, you're going to break the emulsion, and you're going to have cracks in that photograph. The best thing to do is leave it curled up and bring it to a conservator, somebody in an archive, a museum, a historical society potentially, maybe even a library that has an archive. They should be able to tell you how to uncurl that photograph. And so I've got some links here for websites, and these are all on the handouts also. So you can read more about conserving items that may have been damaged. The Library of Congress has a great website on preservation and emergency prep for your archive materials. And then you can see there's several blogs and other things. Ancestry has some stuff, Family Tree Magazine, New York State Archives, and so on, all have documents on preserving your archives and potentially, maintaining them after damage has occurred. So I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm going to stop sharing now. And I did see some chats going on potentially, or hands up or something as I was going through, but I don't see any in the chat room. So if anybody has any questions, let me know.
Pauline mentioned about bugs, how bugs are a real risk here in
Yes.
Florida.
Yeah. Best way to keep the bugs out is to keep things locked up, keep them in tight storage so they don't get into your items.
So if we have something that you talked about putting pictures if need be in cold water, like not room temperature water, but cold, right? Or like
right, yeah.
And for how long?
Until you can get to them.
Okay.
So if you're not able to get to the photograph in, let's say you've got a bunch of stuff going on, you got to get to your papers first. You'll get to your photographs next. You don't want to leave them sitting out like that, because they will get damaged because they're wet and they're exposed to the atmosphere. Put them in that bucket of cold water. Let them sit there while you're doing your other stuff. You may be going through and cleaning all the mud out of your house. You may be squeegeeing your floor, trying to get that all done. You're like, I got to do something. I'll put them in the bathtub, cold bathtub of water. I'll put them in there and I'll get to them tomorrow when I get all this other stuff done. So, look at how quickly you think you can get to things. If you can't get it to it in the first 24, 48 hours, photographs, put them in the tub. If you can't get to your papers in the first 24, 48 hours, put them in the freezer. Those things will keep them stable while you're doing your other work.
Interesting. Anyone else have any questions or comments? You can unmute yourself if you do.
See, Robert has one.
Okay. I'm not seeing him, so. I hope someone's, I think he's got an interpreter, so. Warren, are you interpreting for Bob or?
No, that's one thing. His microphone is mute. I'm not sure if his interpreter
Oh yeah, let me see,
is.
because I think he had a different interpreter tonight. No, he's not muted anymore. I've got him small, so, Warren, I don't know if you're seeing him or not. Are you catching that or not really? Or not really? I was thinking that he had someone else. Okay. Hang on, guys, we're working over here. Perfect for me. Okay, can you?
He's going starting slow for me.
Okay.
His mother saved papers, pictures. He saved. Oh, put them where? Oh, put the documents in the freezer and restore the documents in the freezer. For many years, she kept the documents in the freezer. A moth, bugs, yeah. Somehow a mothballs in the freezer too, in the boxes. You have to be careful. Mothballs go through the documents, and the smell of it is very strong, seeped into the paper.
Right.
I have tried baking soda in the boxes and open it up, but still there's problems. Do you know what you do with the scent?
Yeah, no, I don't know what you can do to get rid of the mothball scent. I mean, I don't even think you leave it aired out for like a couple of years. It'll still smell like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So someone is asking, Barbara's where to buy archival supplies.
Yeah, so you can get archival supplies almost anywhere now online. You just do a quick Google search for archival boxes or archival pages, and you can find a lot of companies that will sell those. eBay, Google, Amazon, I'm sure you can find them there. If you're looking for specialized materials, you may check with an archivist and see, where they get their items from. They may have some, specific sources locally, possibly, or, that provide the materials that they use and they would recommend.
Demco, I know, has some, that's a library company.
Yeah.
They sell all kinds of like library supplies, but some things are archival. I don't think they have a ton, but there would be some there. And so, yeah, just make sure it says marked archival, right?
Yeah, make sure it says archival. If you're looking for an archivist, I mean, even your local library, possibly has somebody there that archives the documents from the library and knows how to store those.
Yeah, at my library, it's me, but
Yeah.
I'm not really an archivist, but yeah, but we can probably find some other sources as well. And so also with the plastic page protectors, there are archival versions of them too, correct?
Yeah, you don't want the PVC page protectors. I mean, those were really common a while back. Those are things you always get. Now, when you go out, even to Office Depot, you can see more of the archival page protectors there. So, take a look, see if they have what you're looking for.
Good to know.
Yeah, Bernice.
I've had some that the print, the ink came off onto the plastic.
Yeah, the old ones, they would stick to the paper. You try to pull the pages out, the ink would stick to them. They were just really a mess. They were not good. So.
What do you think is the best way to take photographs out of the albums, the old albums that the photographs stick to?
Yeah. The first thing I would do. Yeah, the first thing I would do is digitize them. Scan them to start with. That way, in case any damage happens, you still have an archival copy or an archived copy of them. Everybody had those magnetic pages. That was the greatest thing back in the 70s. Magnetic pages, the photos would never slide on those pages, and they will never come off of those pages either. What I tend to do with those is you can usually find a space that's open, and I will use a flat, like a paint scraper.
A spatula.
And just gradually work it. It's like you're just moving millimeters at a time. You're not going under it and popping it up, and you're trying just to come off of that. What I used to do, I collected stamps when I was a kid. And the way you got the stamps off of the envelopes was you steamed them, and you put them under steam or you put them in hot water, and then the glue would come off. And then you'd be able to pull them out, and then you air dry the stamps.
I've used a blow dryer for the
blow dryer. Yeah, that potentially worked too. So, there's probably ways of doing it. Everything that I've seen with those magnetic pages, like I said, I've just scanned the images and I've left them on the pages. I don't want to, damage them. But once I've scanned them, then I can correct the color on them. I can remove the blemishes, and I can post them online and store them, digitally.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? So next month is Quaker Genealogy with Annette Burke-Little. So we've had a lot of interest in that from people in the group and out of the group. Quaker Genealogy. So be sure to come for that. In April, I have someone from Canada who's going to be doing a presentation for us on Zoom. And that's a little bit different. Her grandmother was murdered back in the 1940s, unfortunately. And she did a lot of research to find out information on that. And in May, we have our own Terry Hall and Bernice Gleason from DeLand, from the Roots and Branches chapter. They did a very interesting program on immigration, and they'll be doing that for us in May via Zoom, because I'm sure we won't be able to do programming in person yet. So usually in June we have a potluck, and I doubt that will happen this year. So If we want to meet in June, we need to come up with some sort of suggestion. And if you have
Let's
any
do the potluck
suggestions,
on Zoom.
what's that?
Let's
Yeah, we could eat by ourselves on Zoom and
You cook the food and we'll all sit here and eat.
That's,
virtually.
that's how I do that's how I do birthdays now.
That's right. That's the new normal, unfortunately. Yeah. So if you have any suggestions for September and out from there, let me know, because most places, everyone I had lined up, like Miles, for this month was originally scheduled to come in person. So we can normally do that if everything is allowable in the fall. So let me know if you have suggestions. Does anyone else have any questions for Miles or suggestions? I think
Yep,
we
that
got a
is
lot of
very
good
interesting.
information.
Questions about Roots Tech or anything else?
Yeah, Roots Tech, I had questions at the beginning, so I've got to go. If you have not already signed up, you can still sign up, correct, Miles?
You can sign up all the way through Saturday.
My- Miles, one of the notifications I just got this afternoon specified that you had to have a family search
Right.
account.
You have to have a family search account to get into all of this things that are going on. Now, you don't have to have a family search account to get into some of the stuff. But if you want to get into everything that's going on, you'll need a family search account in order to, do that. And it's a free account. You don't even have to set up a tree or anything.
Yeah,
You have to sign up for family search.
I got one. I just didn't know if you were going to tell me something different.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you'll be able to access some of the videos and things without a family search account. But in order to do the live events and to interact with the attendees, with the relatives at Roots Tech, you'll be able to see how, who you're related to at Roots Tech. I'm now related to 32 of the 325,000 people that are there. My wife, on the other hand, is related to 7,000. So I'll meet all 32 of my relatives while I'm there.
That's if you have a tree on family search, correct?
Yes, you have to have a tree on family search to do that.
Now, how did you find that out?
So if you go to familysearch.org/connect,
Yeah.
and you log in there, it'll tell you how many people at Roots Tech that are registered at Roots Tech that have a tree on family search are related to you.
Okay.
Tree on there.
So yeah, I got it. So I'd have to put my tree up there.
You have to put at least some tree up there. Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't take very much to tie into the tree that already exists there.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question too.
Yeah.
I signed up for the Root Tech too. Is there like a course of events or the kind of subjects out there?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find it.
Sure. On Roots Tech, or rootstech.org, if you go down to the page, it's hard to see, but it's right after the first section on the page. It'll say speakers list or something like that. There's two handouts that are there before you get down to the registration. So the next thing down below that is the registration form. You'll see that list right there. You can download that list, and it's only the English speaking talks that are on that list. When you get in to Roots Tech, then you're going to see the full lists, on Wednesday morning. I think you'll be able to see the full list of things that are available. They also have programs where it's like starting genealogy, and they'll list all the programs that are under that, or DNA, and they'll list all the programs, or Germany. So they'll have those. You can actually search and just pull those and set up your watch list. And then once you set up your watch list, then those videos will play for you. The other thing is that there are 36 or 37 different languages being spoken by the presenters. They're all presentations will be in 11 different languages. They will all be closed captioned in every language that Google Translate supports. And there will be presentations that are ASL also. There's maybe a dozen presentations, I don't know what the number is, that are ASL.
Fantastic.
That
I was gonna
answered
ask that.
everything. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so there's Miles was saying earlier that there are only about 4 countries that are not participating as of now, which is amazing.
And they're all North African countries. So Libya, Sudan, Mali, and one other country in that area.
Well, that's because they already know each other.
They were making a comment that we even have North Korean people registered. And the call I was on right before this, we had 220 speakers
Wow.
on that call from all over the world: Russia, Australia, Germany. That was 220 of the 350 or 60 speakers that I know of that are going to be presenting 1,500 different talks. Luckily, these talks are not an hour long. They're 20 minutes long. So, you can watch them short. I think mine's only 17 minutes. So
That's good.
That's good for a web presentation. It's harder to keep focus when you're not in person.
yeah, and it's going to be really great that you can interact with all the vendors, all the exhibitors that are there. So you can go right up to the Ancestry page. They'll be doing classes on Ancestry, on the Ancestry page within Roots Tech. They'll be doing their own classes also, and you'll be able to talk to them. And by the way, they're 40% off DNA kits during the conference.
Oh, good.
So,
and will there be like a tech support available for us if we have trouble?
Will be. Yeah, up on the top of the page when it comes out, there'll be a little blue button up at the top that is a little chat button, and that'll get you right into tech support. And they have hundreds of tech support specialists that'll be working the entire conference. Again, it's 24 hours a day from Wednesday at 7 o'clock when the expo hall opens. The first talk's at 11 o'clock at night, and then through Saturday at 11 o'clock at night, straight through 24 hours a day. And then 365 days after that, you have access to the videos.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. This is your chance. I have never been to Roots Tech. I have been to NGS and FSGS, or FGS, whatever it was. Each time I come away with so much more knowledge and just so eager to get back to my genealogy and start something new. And I'm the genealogy librarian at City Island at the library in Daytona. One year when I went to, I think it was NGS in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, I took one on Scandinavian research because of being in the library, you never know who's going to come in and ask for what. It's not just about my genealogy. And no sooner than I had come back and this man said, my family's from Sweden. He came in and he was looking for information. I said, well, you know what? I just learned some stuff about Swedish genealogy that I didn't know before. So it's even in Florida, it's pretty expensive to attend these things in person. So the fact that we have a chance to do this online for free, absolutely free, is amazing. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the thing in 2019, I spoke at Salt Lake and at London. I did the same presentation at both conferences, and that was European Archives Online. And somebody asked me about Polish archives, and I said, well, that's not, I didn't present on Polish archives because I don't do any Polish research. But the director of the Polish archives, one of the directors of the Polish archives, was in the audience, and so he was able to talk all about that. And that's one of the things that'll be great about this conference is that every presentation will have its own chat room. So if you watch my presentation, you'll be able to go into that chat room and you'll be able to ask me questions. You'll be able to post any questions or any comments in that. The other people who have watched my presentation will be able to answer some of those questions, and you'll be able to go back and forth in those chats. And then I'll be coming in and out of the chats during the day, and trying to respond to those and make sure that I provide information that's helpful. And you can do that with any of the people that are presenting, and you probably follow blogs and know some of these people who are presenting because they've been around for a while. So,
Miles, do you happen to know if CC Moore is going to be available?
I don't know if CC Moore is going to be available. I didn't check the list for her. I know Maureen Taylor and Janet Havorka and Diana Southard and Thomas McKenty and all of those guys and a bunch more that that usually do these presentations will have programs going on.
Diane Southard is a big genetic genealogy expert as well.
There's
Bill.
a
So
whole,
if
yeah, there's a
Cece's
whole
not
track.
there, try to catch one of Diane's because she's excellent too.
Yeah, there's a whole track on DNA that's there. And if you don't want to chat, you can direct message everybody. So you can send them direct messages without going into the chat. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I took 2 days off of work. Whatever happens on Saturday, I'll try to catch up with later, but I have to work on Saturday. But I will be planted in front of my computer and probably eating in front of my computer on Friday, Thursday and Friday. So yeah.
Better get a bigger coffee mug.
There you go, right? Get free refills or something. So, anybody else have anything to say or any questions before Miles signs off?
I'll make one more pitch.
Okay.
And as was mentioned at the beginning, I am with the Family History Guide, which is an online training program. We have training for family search, my heritage, find my past, ancestry, specific countries, specific counties in Florida, across the U.S., different research techniques. We have this major website out there called the Family History Guide, or it's thefhguide.com. I am the education director. And what we're doing right now is we're promoting in the state of Florida to the genealogy societies a program called the Volunteer Instructor Program, where we will train members of a genealogy society to become semi-expert on the website, and that person then becomes the resource for the genealogy society. Training people how to do different research and so on based on the Family History Guide's lesson manual. We have built-in lesson plans there. You can follow the lesson plans and work on things. We have the outlines for lessons that are available, that you can use to talk to anybody. All of our trainers do all of our presentations for free. There's no charge at all for those. So if you guys are interested in hearing more about the Family History Guide, contact me. I'll do a presentation to the board, to people who are interested in the Volunteer Instructor Program, or to the full society.
That sort of led to a question I had earlier and forgot. So of course, we're still in the middle of this pandemic. Now, I'm not sure, Terry, about DeLand's Family History Center, but the one in Daytona was closed for quite a long time, at least a year or two before the pandemic ever hit. And then we had this real nice missionary couple. They were retired from Arizona. They got here just in time for Hurricane Dorian or whatever it was. And they were trying to get used to the humidity in Florida because they were from Arizona. Real nice older couple that I met. And they were really trying to get the Family History Center going again. You all have databases there that we don't have at the library system.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the pandemic hit and everyone was sent home.
Right.
I don't know. Do you have any clue as to what might happen when things calm down as far as getting people?
So, yeah, I mean, we've been closed since March. We've been closed. We're going on a year now. We don't know when we're going to reopen. But there's a couple things. Is the library a family history affiliate, a family search affiliate?
Yes, we are. My branches anyway. Mm-hmm.
So at least there you get most of the records, not all, but most,
Right.
accessible through the family search affiliate program. The other thing, and we're not being given a whole lot of information on this, but what they're saying is that every ward building, every LDS building will be a family history center after we reopen.
Okay.
Now, it may take longer for some of them because the infrastructure has to be put in place.
Okay.
But every building, even if it doesn't have a family history center in it now, will be usable as a family history center in the near future. And, they're talking about this year. So we don't know the details of that yet. We're still waiting, and they're giving us little bits of information every month, you know, and they're saying, we're not telling you this, but
Because ours was closed for quite a while before this couple came.
yeah,
Quite a lot, at least a year, probably longer.
Yeah.
And then I know all the missionaries got sent home and things like that. So there
Yeah.
is a family history center there, and you all had Find My Past and Archive Digital, things like that the library
Right.
doesn't have as
right.
well.
Yeah,
So-
and we just got new computers in our family history center.
oh,
So,
nice.
yeah, not, I go in every 2 weeks to update them. That's the extent of what's happening right now, but we'll soon find out. We don't know yet.
Right. Okay, I'll keep my ears open.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I don't always have the time or necessarily the expertise, depending on what it is, to help people. So the fact that we had people there to assist someone
Yeah.
that wanted to go to the Family History Center was good. And I have other duties besides genealogy at my branch, and I I don't always have the time or the ability. My life is not always my own at work, so it depends. But it was nice to have someone else to help out with that, especially if it was something a little bit more involved.
Yeah, the other thing is Family Search and the Family History Library, in Salt Lake. They are providing online consultation. So if people have questions, they can go into the online consultation program there and set up an appointment and meet with a family history, consultant at the Family History Library in Salt Lake.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that. That's good to know. Anybody else? Well, Miles, thank you so much.
Sure.
I appreciate you virtually being with us.
It's much better than having
sorry
to
we
drive
couldn't
home.
have refreshments this year.
And the check's in the mail.
The check will be in the mail. Our treasurer says
Yeah.
the check's in the mail.
It's
So-
much better than driving there and driving back, in the evenings.
Yeah, it's just like, it was just like not even much at all. Just think of the
Yeah.
miles saved. Anybody have any other questions? And if not, thank you. Carol says thank you.
Okay.
They enjoyed
Thank
it.
you all for having me.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. And Miles, let us record this. So I'll send the link out to everyone probably tomorrow. And Miles, one more thing. Can I share your email address then in case someone has further questions about Roots Tech or whatever?
It's on the handout.
Yeah, it's on the handout and I will post it here just
Okay.
in case. But yeah, it's on the handout, so you can access it there.
milesmeyer@gmail.com. Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming, walking out to your porch. and we'll talk to you at Roots Tech probably. So thanks a lot. And everyone else, we will see you later.
Bye-bye.
I'm gonna sign off and end the meeting now. And if you have any questions, just email me later on and I'll email you this link. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.